Welcome to episode 2 of The Capitolist. I'm your host, Brian Burgess. It's been a busy week in Tallahassee with lawmakers coming back to town for what insiders call a committee week. If you're not a Florida political insider, here's a simpler explanation. You know how just before you get the flu, you start to feel a dull ache in your body, or maybe your stomach feels a little bit queasy? And it's because there's a small germ or virus or bacteria that's slowly starting to overwhelm your immune system. Well, it's sort of like that in Tallahassee right now.
So you're going to call lawmakers people, I know people, you know people we even call friends. You're going to call them germs and bacteria.
Not all of them.
Okay.
Not all of them. I was trying to compare bad ideas, bad laws, bad legislation to germs and viruses.
Okay.
And the lawmakers, get this, are like white blood cells who fight that infection and try to prevent it from taking over the host body, which is Florida.
So then lawmakers are the good guys.
Well, not all of them.
Okay. Wow.
What I'm saying is that, like when you first get exposed to a germ, committee weeks, or when Florida first gets exposed to bills, some of them are good, some of them are bad. Either way, average Floridians should be feeling a little bit queasy at the idea of a lot of bad bills about to be introduced into the state legislature. But before we get too deep down that rabbit hole, we're going to kick off the show with a look back at one of last week's big stories that sort of fizzled out into a big nothing burger. White nationalist Richard Spencer gave a speech last week at the University of Florida.
The Richard Spencer.
Yes, the Charlottesville guy, the guy that created all the controversy in Charlottesville.
Sure.
I think we have some photos of this guy. He's easy to spot because he only owns 2 sport coats, one brown corduroy and one brown tweed. Both look like they're only missing the Einsatzgruppen armband.
I'm totally okay with you being mean to this guy, so how about it?
He probably deserves
Get it out
it
right
a little
now.
bit. He's on the edge. He deserves it. Well, we mocked bad haircuts last week. This week, it's neo-Nazis.
Things seem to have escalated kind of quickly.
Yeah, we're not wasting any time here. From 0 to 100 in no
Right.
time. No one is safe from mockery on this show, except my mom. Dad's on the bubble. Mom, you're safe. Everybody else, tighten your chin straps and pull your socks up as high as you can get them, because we're eventually going to come after you. Back to Richard Spencer, though.
Okay.
White supremacist, all this hype about riots on campus, $500,000 for security and police protection. University of Florida got criticized for allowing this event in the first place.
So what happened?
Well, nothing. Nothing happened. Spencer showed up and gave his speech in front of maybe a dozen people or so. You know, a couple of clowns got arrested. The entire event was a snoozer.
But that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, my hat's off to the University of Florida for the way they handled the situation. They found a creative way to sort of honor free speech.
Right.
But what they did was a lot of the off-campus businesses and even some of the folks' organizations found ways to sort of collect tickets from this event and gave away free drinks or food or whatever.
Right.
And
Give us a ticket, we'll give you a
stuck it in
drink.
the trash, and no one, there wasn't any problem. So it
Right.
completely diffused the whole problem. That's the perfect way to respond to something like this, and it proves we don't need government taking extraordinary measures to protect people from politically incorrect speech. We just need the freedom to be creative and allow good people to respond appropriately.
But because you're talking about this subject, I have to believe there's more.
There's more.
There's more.
Of course there's more. The Florida Democratic Party can't let a racist make a big splash in Florida without trying to cash in. Democrat lawmakers used the potential racial tension last week as a backdrop to introduce a pair of bills calling for the removal of Confederate monuments installed on public property.
Uh-oh.
What? You can't
I'm
let me
just
go?
I'm just saying, never mind, we're on tape. We can always edit if you cross a line. We're good. Keep going.
I'm not going to cross any lines.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not going to. I might just surprise you with this week's hot take.
You'll surprise me, all right.
Also, we have good lawyers, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
Do we?
We'll be okay.
Okay.
Regardless of how I or anyone feels about the issue, the proposal to get the state involved in outlawing Confederate monuments in public, to me, is just another classic example of why the Democrats, not just here in Florida, but nationally too, are so ineffective as a party right now.
Identity politics.
Yes, it's about the only thing Democrats are good at right now.
Ugh.
Their other policy ideas, generally speaking, aren't popular with anyone. Taxing the rich, for example, is another version of identity politics. And identity politics is all about dividing people based on economic class or gender or race. It's become the primary tactic used by the Democratic Party. But don't take my word for it. Just look at the press releases put out by the Florida Democrats over the past few months.
I would just like to say, as you're about to read off a list, I get the feeling you're going to read off a list. I would just want to point out, I do not necessarily agree with the opinions and ideas of Brian. Continue.
What is that? You're giving me the same disclaimers? Whatever. Talk to the
Little
lawyer.
disclaimer,
You'll
that's
be
all.
fine. Look, what I want to do is just pull up the Florida Democratic Party website.
Okay.
I'm just going to look through what we have there. And here, there's the first release, Richard Spencer. It's all about the neo-Nazis. And again, I don't disagree with that one. I mean, that one's okay.
Sure.
But it's all they ever have up there, generally speaking. Number 2, the second one, illegal immigrants. Democrats call them dreamers. Again, identity politics. Number 3, more dreamer stuff, illegal immigrants, identity politics. 4, ditto, identity politics. 5, they have a release about that hardcore sheriff in Arizona. Nothing to do with Florida. Identity politics. Rick Scott is a neo-Nazi. Identity politics. Trump is a neo-Nazi. Identity politics. Rick Scott takes medicine from sick kids. Identity politics. Here's a little professional advice, just between me and the Florida Democrats. You guys are constantly trying to divide people all the time, and it's not working. It's not working because voters simply don't believe that every elected Republican is a neo-Nazi who intentionally hurts sick immigrant kids by taking away their cancer medicine.
Let's do this. I'm going to U-turn you, and we're going to go back to Confederate monuments.
My rant is over? You're ending my rant?
Back
Okay,
to
fine,
Confederate
yeah.
monuments.
So, okay, back to it. What about it? I think the issue is a waste of time and money, but I also know it bothers some people very much. So if it helps put some of the historical ugliness behind us, and since most people don't care, then I say move them to a museum. But before we box up these monuments, shouldn't somebody ask what they think about all of this?
Oh, no.
Yes, we got to do it.
Okay.
We've got to do it. We go live now to Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Standing by to talk with us is the statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. General, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
General, before you were a statue, have you ever even been to Florida?
Why, sure. I surveyed the entire coastline of Florida back in 1849, from Pensacola around to Miami and all the way on up to Jacksonville. And during the Civil War, I commanded a whole brigade of Florida boys who whooped some Union. Yes, sir. Them Florida crackers was good old fighting boys, they was.
Well, the reason I have you on the show is because I wanted to talk to you about the controversy about removing Civil War monuments, such as yourself.
Well, yes. I heard that even some white folk are offended by the presence of monuments to the War of Northern Aggression.
Yeah, things have changed quite a bit. We just call it the Civil War now, even down here in the South.
Yes, fair enough. It has been 152 years since the war after all. But you know how long I've been standing here, boy? Since 1966. And let me tell you something else. I didn't even want to be a statue in the first place, least of all in Fort Myers. I mean, they could have put me down there in South Beach, maybe give me a little eye candy to look at. Instead, I just gotta sit here and let pigeons crap all over me and look at a bunch of long-hair hippie burnout stoners selling weed on the street corner. Boy, I tell you, if I had fists now, I would...
General, let me just interrupt you. Before you died, you made it pretty clear you didn't want to be turned into a war icon because of all the controversy.
Yes, that's right. I said it once before and I will say it again. I think it wiser not to keep open the sores of war, but to follow the examples of those nations who endeavored to obliterate the marks of civil strife, to command to oblivion the feelings engendered.
Very well said. You know, they named Lee County after you, too.
You said what now? Why, you gotta be me. Them ignorant little just don't listen. Listen here and listen good. I give Florida permission to take me off this pedestal and rename Lee County after someone famous who was born here.
Ooh, like the Hall of Fame cornerback, Deion Sanders. He was born in Lee County.
Well, now, I don't know who that is, but I do like the sound of Deion County.
Deion County sounds good. So you're okay if we just box you up and maybe put you in a museum?
Whoa now, not so fast, boy. Can't you just scrape the pigeon crap off of me and bury me to my neck in the sand on that great, glorious stretch of land they call South Beach? Yes, much better.
In a moment, we'll talk with our panel of experts and find out what they think about all of this and more. Welcome back to The Capitolist. We've got our panel today, and starting off we have Chris Dudley, Katie Webb, and in the hot seat today we have David Griffin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're a very brave man for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah. You and I are going to do some stuff later on, maybe a different episode. But
Whenever you get the courage.
yeah, he's a basketball player. I like to play a little basketball. He's got a couple inches on him. I've got a couple years on him on the short end. So it's on you and me. We're gonna play some
Let's
hoops
do
and
it.
talk some
Let's do it. It's been a while.
some Tallahassee politics.
All right.
Sounds good. You're on.
I'm in.
You heard it here first. Want to talk today a little bit about the 2018 session and about committee weeks and how those are shaping up right now. And I'm going to throw the first question over to Chris, and just to give you a little bit of time to get warmed up. I don't want to put too much pressure on you early on.
I'm old, yeah.
So, Chris, tell us what's going on with committee weeks. Is this year shaping up to be different in any way? I know it's early still.
You know, the earlier start date, January 9th this year, always makes things a little tougher. I think most folks up here are kind of geared for everybody shows up in January, you got your battle gear on, you got 2 months of committee meetings, time to get ready, session starts in March. I mean, here it's a sprint. I mean, we start January 9th when everyone comes back. It tends to make the session run a little quicker. It tends for there not to be as many controversial issues. And obviously we have 2018 general election cloud hanging over the group too. So
A cloud, you say? We can get to the cloud hanging over the 2018 election, which I think there is a cloud. But let's talk a little bit about just these committee weeks in general. Are we seeing things going a little bit slower than usual, faster than usual? Does it feel normal?
You know, it feels normal to me. I mean, I think what you've seen this last week, they spent a lot of time talking about the hurricane, a lot of time talking about the opioid crisis. I think you'll see the legislature really kind of focus in on some rifle shot issues that they want to address and fix. And I think you'll see fewer food fights, which is what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you remember, Brian, the first committee week, the first regularly scheduled House and Senate committee weeks were canceled because of Irma.
Mm-hmm.
So what was already a compacted schedule and timeline is even further compacted because they actually had to take that time off.
Do you think they're able to dig out from that? Are we seeing anything where that's causing an issue, or or does it just seem like people are adjusting to it, they're adapting to it, okay, and right now it looks like 2018 session's going to kick off in a normal way?
I think that legislative leadership knows what issues they want to focus on, and we're going to see those get attention regardless of the time frame. I think what might be impacted are some of the ancillary special interest type issues that you just ordinarily, just by virtue of timing, need a lot of time to get moving, and those types would probably suffer, I would predict.
David, are you noticing anything different, or how does this session shaping up for you? This is not your first session either.
No, I got to Florida in 1999, so I think this is going to be the 18th. So, and one thing I've learned is that you don't really know what's going to happen. You think it's going to be a nice, quiet session and things will blow up. You think it's going to be a crazy session and things will be quiet. I think to some extent we're still kind of experiencing the fallout of the hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still things that we don't know that may come up.
So Tallahassee's a rumor town. And the rumors that I hear, and maybe I'm not plugged into the same circles you guys are, but the rumors I keep hearing is that there could be things blowing up this year. And of course, maybe we hear that every year. But because of the political season that Chris mentioned early on, because of the political season that's coming up that follows, and we've got some key players in key positions. You've got Senator Latvala and you've got Speaker Corcoran, both rumored to be running for the governor's race. Sort of the scuttlebutt is that could have an impact on session. Are you feeling like that? Are you hearing those same things, or am I in this sort of a telephone game where I'm hearing myself talk rumors?
You know, I've heard a bit of everything, and I think at the end of the day, it depends on what is politically the best outcome. Is it politically good to have things blow up, or is it politically good to have things be quiet? Mm-hmm. And I think each candidate is going to decide that, and they'll do whatever they think is going to be in their best interest.
But you've seen these kind of sessions before. You've heard these rumors before. You've all seen it, right? Am I wrong?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. The typical rumor that you hear every year is, are they going to sine die early, or are they going to sine die late? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's
it's always year. I always hear they're going to sine die late. The session's going to blow up. It's going to be a train wreck. We're going to have to come back for a special session.
And it happened in, gosh, when was it? 5 years ago, that they actually did adjourn early.
The House just left.
Right.
Yeah.
So you
Chris
never
Foley's
know.
first term.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You never know.
So it's just the same old is what my experts here are telling me. Same old. Everybody relax. Everything's gonna go off. It's gonna be just a normal year. Forget the election cycle. It's gonna have, a predictable impact because it's gonna be unpredictable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at 20 years ago, was the last Constitutional Revision Commission. So, you know, the 98 general election had a U.S. Senate race, right? Bob Graham, Charlie Crist. We had a governor's race where Jeb Bush got elected. We had the full cabinet. We had 13 constitutional amendments on there. We had 120 members of the Florida House, half the Florida Senate. That's a lot of stuff going on the ballot, and I think you'll find members are going to be thinking about that too, because now it's not just the Florida legislature that's really directing policy from now until March when session ends. It's also the CRC that's going to have a big input too. So,
Speaker Corcoran is doing a little bit of investigative stuff here and there. He's calling on for various documents from different people, from money that got spent here or there. He's sort of being this watchdog. He's playing this watchdog role. Is that something that's unprecedented, or is that something that goes on from time to time? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? He's requested documents from a number of different entities, some universities and some port authorities in different places. Is that normal?
It's not been done recently, not at that level that I can recall.
So, is it politically driven, or is that just who he is as a political leader?
I mean, listen, he made early on. I mean, he really made ethics reform and transparency in government, you know, the hallmarks of what he wanted to accomplish as Speaker, and I think he made some progress on that this year, this year. I think he's going to make some progress via the CRC, and I think he's going to keep pushing that. And candidly, he's tapping into what is an obvious general distrust or misunderstanding about how local governments spend money and what they're spending it on. And I think it's all valid stuff to be looking at.
Sure, it's all fair. We just got to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Cabela's Salon and Spa is your best option for hair care, but it's also the best option for body care with a luxurious massage with our certified and licensed massage professional, Tracy. Come to Cabela's and enjoy a relaxing experience that increases blood flow and circulation, flexibility, helps with mood, and improves sleep patterns and hormone levels. Sessions can be tailored to avoid or focus on specific areas. You belong at Cabela's.
And we're back, and I want to turn the discussion now with our panel to a controversy that happened last week with University of Florida. Your rival, you were wearing their colors actually in solidarity with the Gators, even though you're a Knoll. But Richard Spencer, the white nationalist, was given a speech, and it basically got a lot of attention, but I don't know that it actually achieved a whole lot. There wasn't as much controversy in the end as I think was expected. But the governor had put out a special order or some kind of emergency order, and it turned out that I think UF, would you say they did a decent job of handling the event, or how would you classify it?
I think the university did a great job, and I bleed garnet and gold, but I was a member of Gator Nation during that time. I mean, I think the university handled it well. I've been to enough football games at Florida to know that, 80,000 people can stand and chant for 4 quarters straight and drown out the sound, and they did yesterday. And frankly, it was, I'm glad people like that have a avenue to speak, but I'm also glad that the students kind of rose up against the anti-American hatred that a guy like that stands for.
Yeah. Katie, any take on that?
Sure. Well, I mean, the real shame of it is I understand that there was a tremendous amount of money spent on security that was necessary, obviously, given the history of how some of these other things have gone. But, so it's a shame that, taxpayer dollars were put toward a hateful type of event, but it was necessary, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree. I think what it showed there are a lot more people of goodwill and good sense than there are people like him who want to spread hatred,
stirring up trouble,
and dirty things. Yep.
Yeah. So all in all, they handled it pretty well. All right, I'm going to shift it a little bit more here. Similar topic. Representative Jones has introduced a bill to remove Confederate monuments from public spaces, and I think there's a companion bill in the Senate by Senator Book. And wanted to get your take on. First of all, I think the bill, just basically says let's get these monuments out of public spaces. They're fine in museums. It's a historical thing. I just want to get everybody's take on it. First of all, how do you think that flies in a Republican-controlled legislature? And then, generally, what's your take? Is it the right time to do that, or what are we looking at? take it away. I know you have a couple of hot takes on this, so.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't think you can erase or rewrite history. And I think sometimes it's good to have those reminders of what history was so that we don't recreate or commit some of the atrocities that may have happened in the past. So, trying to, create a society where there's nothing that offends anyone, anywhere, I don't think is a good thing.
Well, if you get right down to it, let's say there's a statue, Robert E. Lee statue, in Fort Myers downtown. If you take that away, it's still you still have Lee County. The county's named after Robert E. Lee, right? So I mean, at the end of the day, you have to draw a line somewhere. How much are you gonna be able to purge? So I think it's a valid question. It's a valid point. Does the bill have a chance?
Well, to that point, I don't know that it's a partisan issue at all. So I don't think the sponsors' party affiliation will have anything to do with the success of the legislation. I think it will more likely depend on timing and how much time would be anticipated on discussing and debating these issues, what that might do in the Capitol in terms of public speakers and who it might incite to show up and cause a stink. So I think there'll be a number of different considerations before the bill is heard at all. And I think at the end of the day, it really just depends on how much time they have to spend on an issue like this, which is obviously it's an important discussion to have, but it is also probably, I would imagine, pretty time consuming.
Is it a situation where maybe the state isn't the appropriate venue, or is it something that local governments need to take up?
The bill that Representative Jones has filed really just applies to monuments that are on state-owned property. But I think where Chev is going with this, and I think he's developed a great reputation with Republicans and Democrats in the Florida legislature, is, we've got the Richard Spencers of the world. It's okay to have these discussions. I mean, no one's saying we need to erase the past. I think what they're saying is, let's have things that inspire unity. Let's have things that are reflective of people's communities where they live in. And if it's, if Robert E. Lee doesn't represent, that area anymore, put something in there, that brings that community together and shows some unity. I think that's where Representative Jones really, the point he's trying to make on this. Let's be willing to have the discussion.
All right, let's say that the bill passes, and now we have to rename Lee County. We gotta wrap this up, but real quick, does anybody have any suggestions for what you might rename Lee County? I'm putting you in the hot seat now.
Now, I'm partial to Griffin.
Yeah, Griffin County. That sounds okay. I've got a suggestion for a minute, but and I think you as a Knoll fan, if you're Knoll fans, you'd like mine.
Yeah.
There's a famous Knoll cornerback that played Dion County. He was born in Lee County.
Yeah.
He was born in, so I say name it Dion County.
Right.
Similar to Lee, have the same name, and it honors a great Knoll. And my favorite team's the Dallas Cowboys, and he's a Hall of Famer. Why not Dion County?
Yes.
You want Griffin. You want Griffin County. I know. That's all the time we have for today on the panel, and we'll be right back after this. Hey, it's Brian Burgess here with the Capitolist. Just wanted to take a moment with session gearing up again, coming into 2018. Wanted to remind everybody about the free Capitolist app that you can download at either the App Store or the Google Play Store. You can get it directly at thecapitalist.com/app. It's more than just a news app. It's more than just my content from the site. It's also got content from all around the state. You can touch the little menu screen, the little red button over there, and it'll give you a bunch of menu options, or you can just slide the screen over. So you've got breaking news from all around the state. Some of the top stories are fit in here from just about every site that covers Florida politics, including floridapolitics.com and all the legacy news sites, the Tampa Bay Times, the Miami Herald, and Sunshine State News. Even Shark Tank is on here, and of course the Capitolist feeds into this as well. So this is sort of a breaking news feed. Then we've got all your morning news briefings. Sunburn, Politico Playbook. We've even got takeaways from Tally and links to Safety News. We've got Above the Fold from Kevin Kate, great little addition. So a quick run down the list. You can look up your favorite lobbyist to see who he or she is registered to lobby for. We've also got lobbyist appearances that you can look up. We've got top Twitter streams. We've got a campaign database. You can look up campaign documents, see who's donating to who's spending money on what. We've got links to the Florida channel. You can click on the Florida channel and watch your favorite committee meetings. Very riveting viewing there. So anything that's going on there, all within the app.
all one-stop shopping. And then a few other little things, handy tools. You've got Tramel Gomes' podcast is there. And then one of my favorite things is the Capitol Press Guide, which if I wanted to email someone from the Associated Press or the Tampa Bay Times or text them, you can do it all directly within the app. This page is sponsored by Saks Media, but you can go into the Capitol News Service, for example. Click on that. You've got text numbers and emails to all these guys. And then if you want to close that out, you just go to the next news source. Let's say the Florida Times-Union. Of course, there's Tia Mitchell's photograph and her. We can text her. We send her a text. We just tap on that, and it opens up our handy text option, and then we can send spam to Tia. So we've got a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to reach people. It's just a very handy app, one-stop shopping. It's been called the Swiss Army knife of Florida politics. Wanted to make you all aware of it. And of course, my favorite feature is the one where you can send news tips directly to the Capitolist. You can even attach photos and everything else and send it right to us. Protect your identity, be an anonymous source, contribute to society. That's all for now. More later. Download it for free once again at thecapitalist.com/app.